In 2015, the UK was looking to be one of the countries that was spearheading green projects in solar panels, in wind turbines, in ocean turbines. And these three things, all in conjunction with each other, would have not only satisfied the power need of the UK, but would have surpassed it. Meaning that with a relatively modest investment, the profit yields would have been phenomenal, and certainly would have been more profitable to have a stake in solar energy or green power energy rather than the outdated oil and coal that we currently have. Of course, then the Conservatives stepped in, as Conservatives typically have stakes in oil, coal, and if they don't have stakes in it themselves, then they certainly know someone who does have shares in oil companies. So those issues got backbenched. And currently, as the country is being focused on the royal wedding coming up, Conservative MPs are quietly, or as quietly as they can, trying to incentivize local councils into fracking projects, giving them over £1 million each to incentivize them into fracking. Theresa May has been a massive advocate for fracking, and it's not just Theresa May, it's also Greg Clark, the guy who rather infamously stabbed Boris Johnson in the back at the last second, arguably costing him 10 Downing Street. And while I do love that, and I have to give the man credit for that, allowing this to continue is awful. So why should we focus on fracking instead of green power energies? Well, short answer is we shouldn't. The long answer is we really, really shouldn't. The fracking as it stands is a simple-ish concept. There's oil under the ground, we send down a load of water, we pump the oil back up, and then we have the oil. Bish, bash, bosh, done. Unfortunately, there is a ton of side effects that members of parliament like Theresa May don't like to answer or even acknowledge. For example, fracking is now understood to be a massive cause of earthquakes in areas where there were no earthquakes, and certainly it gets more severe the longer fracking continues. This is not just a hypothesis that people are putting across, it is now a proven fact. When you remove the oil from underneath the ground, even if you replace it with water does not have the same density, and it does lead to earthquakes. It's very, very easy to see why fracking never, ever takes place in a wealthy area. It is always working class and struggling classes where fracking takes place. Another side effect, and one that I view as more devastating, is the water that they pump down to get the oil out now becomes toxic. What do they do with it? Well, they can either leave it in the ground, where it will and has on almost every occasion seeped out and poisoned the land around it, or they drag it back out and again it gets left and it seeps out, and it takes hundreds if not thousands of years for that water to degrade, which is not really the amount of time that we have given the drastic climate changes that we're facing. What people don't seem to acknowledge, at least what Conservatives and people who are very pro-fracking don't seem to acknowledge, is that when you have this toxic water seeping into areas, it makes the area toxic. If that water goes into drinking water, for example, a reservoir for drinking water, well, everyone who drinks that water will die. Everyone who bathes in that water will die. If it goes into a freshwater lake, the the ocean life, the water life in that lake will die. Also, anything that drinks from that lake, trees and everything else. It is a hugely grotesque, bad idea. So this is what people need to be doing. Local MPs, get onto Twitter, get onto Facebook, write letters, send emails, make phone calls to your local councils. Because when they do eventually push for fracking, if they get their own way, it's not going to be the multi-millionaires who suffer. It is going to be the working classes and the people who are struggling. Fracking doesn't take place in wealthy areas. That should tell you everything you need to know. This is not something that we can stand by and just let happen. One planet, one chance. Every single day it seems like that chance is getting, well, screwed over. There's a lot of green effort that needs to be done, and the whole time that we entertain the idea of fracking, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. The reports are out. Climate change is a massive threat to human life. And it's not as if we have hundreds of years left now. We are talking a matter of decades. So get onto social media, writing letters. I've written at least 3 letters to Charlie Elfrich this week alone on fracking, and I've tweeted the hell out of him. But everyone needs to step up. Everyone needs to make sure that this government does not poison this country anymore.